Today we're gonna do a little dish called Pollo Saltado. Basically, it's chicken rice with onions and tomatoes, and usually I have fries with it, but I don't have fries. Yeah, fail. But that's alright. It's basically the same dish as Lomo Saltado, which is like really popular. Like if you've ever had Peruvian food, you've probably had Lomo Saltado. But anyways, so let's get everything we need and get started. Onions, tomatoes, and the chicken. Alright, so first things first is we're gonna need to peel these, obviously. So let's do that. Okay, now that that's done, we need to cut these bad boys. So, boom, done. Easy peasy. Now we got our tomatoes. Need a couple more. Alright, so now we gotta cut these dudes up. So let's do that real quick. So let's go ahead and put our tomatoes in here. Alright, so the important thing here on the chicken here is to make sure that we cut this into small pieces, because we're going to be basically flash frying it, so we don't want it to be too thick. We want it just thick enough to where we can cook it real quick on the outsides, and then once it's all been flash fried, then we'll throw it all together in the pan. So now that's done. Alright, so real quick before we start the sauteing process, I'm gonna prep this rice so that it's ready to go, so that when I'm ready to get this going, all I gotta do is turn on the stove. So I usually do about 2 cups. Put my 2 cups in. Now I need to fill this up with, I do a little bit more than equal parts. So I do 2 cups of rice, you would say 2 cups of water, but I'm gonna do a little bit more because I don't like my rice dry. Alright, so I poured my 2 cups of water plus about another, 5 or 6 ounces in there. I'm gonna add some oil, that's plenty. Grab some of this salt. You know what I'm saying? Don't go crazy, but make sure you got enough. A little bit of garlic. Don't go crazy with the garlic because that shit will be real overpowered. We're gonna stir this up a little bit. And now that's prepped and ready to go. So we're just gonna sit it here. Alright, so now we need to saute these onions. I'll put a decent bit of oil in there. I know that looks like a lot, but you don't want to like as hot as you can get it, but like I would say where the hottest and the medium is, kind of split the difference. We're gonna add some of this minced garlic. What would be about 4 cloves or so. Ooh, it's hot. Should have did this before it got this hot. But that should be good right there. Coño. Don't want to burn it like I'm about to do. I'm going to add our onions. Might be too hot actually. So I probably had a little bit too hot. I'm not used to doing it on this electric stove. Just keep moving it around so that it doesn't burn until they start to get soft. And then once they're soft, meaning they're about done, then we're going to add the tomato. We're gonna add some of this seasonal. We're gonna add some of this black pepper. And now we're gonna add our tomatoes. So the reason I waited to add these tomatoes last was because if they're in there for too long, they get really mushy and like turn into tomato soup. Again, we'll add a little bit more seasoning. Some seasoning on there. A little more pepper. Yeah, don't go too crazy with the pepper. But make sure you get enough to taste it, because again, this is multiple servings. Alright, now we're gonna put this off to the side. We're gonna add a little bit more oil. Not crazy this time. And the main thing with this part is we gotta do it quick, because we don't want to burn it. And we're not trying to cook it all the way through right away. So basically you're gonna kind of undercook the center of it. It's all gonna get mixed together later and then fully cooked. Again, that's why we want to have small, thin pieces. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this pan. A little bit more. We're gonna dump all our chicken back in. Alright, so we just put all our chicken back in here. Now we're gonna add the cumin or cumino. Don't go too crazy, but again, we want to make sure there's enough to taste it. Might have had a little bit too much water, so a lot of it kind of rushed off. So what we're gonna do here is just add a little bit more. Lightly, just kind of coat the top layer. And now we want to keep, for now, the chicken on the bottom. We're gonna add our sauteed onions and tomatoes. Grab this guy, cover it. Again, we want to make sure we got it, you know, not too high, but hot enough that it's gonna be still cooking. Go ahead and I start my rice. Make that bad boy on. Basically, by the time this is done, I know this is done, and then I can serve it together and eat it together. So. Give this a quick little mix up here. Alright, so the rice is done. Here's my little trick I do. I have these little protein funnels, right? So I just fill it up with rice. Presentation is always everything. Entonces, once you got it filled, basically, it's that simple, you know what I'm saying? Looks pretty cool. So this should basically be done by now. Again, if you want to grab like one piece, if you're super like scared and nervous about it, doing the flash frying and not sure if you've cooked it all the way through, you can grab a piece again and cut it open and see what it looks like. Like one of the bigger, thicker pieces that maybe you're unsure about. And for whatever reason you didn't add enough seasoning to your rice, like that juice right there is like your saving grace. So anyways, let's put this on the plate. Well, I like to give a pretty good portion size the first time because that's when it's the freshest. But I mean, I've eaten this 3, 4, 5 days later and it's just as good. So, and that last is done.